What on earth could we be talking about today? Well, I have a confession. I've added a lot more diecasts to my collection, and I have to share them with you all, so let's get to it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Above the Yellow Line, where we do motorsports media your way, talking about NASCAR literally all the time, and we're ditching the news content today, we're ditching the race recaps, the race previews today, and we're gonna have some fun talking about diecast. As you all know, I'm an avid diecast collector, and I have a lot more than I can display behind me. We'll show off all of them, so without further ado, let's get to it. I'm going to start off with the granddaddy of them all, in my opinion, because this diecast personally holds some of the most meaning to me for multiple reasons. This is a Kurt Busch 2019 Kentucky Speedway win, and it is signed. As you all might know, Kentucky Speedway was my home track when it was still up and running. Of course, I'm from Ohio, so there's other tracks around me, but for tracks that had the Cup Series, that's where I went every single year from 2017 to 2019. Every time I went to the track, I went with my grandparents. A few years I went with my siblings, and it was a time for all of us to bond and spend really good time together. 2017 was the first race I attended as a NASCAR fan, and it was at that point that I knew I wanted to be in the industry. And then 2018, the Xfinity Series gifted myself and my family pit passes, and it was at that point I knew I wanted to work in the industry. So Kentucky Speedway is not only a fun place for my family and I to go, or I guess it was a fun place for my family and I to go, but it holds so much meaning to me because without those experiences, I would not be where I am today. In 2019 was the last time I attended a race at Kentucky Speedway before I dealt with some illness. COVID shut things down, and it was bad. But having this diecast in my collection is so phenomenal. I about cried when I found out that I had the opportunity to collect this. So very excited to have this one, and I'm definitely going to put it up on display very proudly somewhere on these shelves. I'm running out of room. Speaking of Kurt Busch, let's move to Kyle Busch. This is a 2019 Homestead Miami Championship car. When I think about the cars I want to add to my collection, I am looking at race wins in championship cars, and of course that meant I had to have this one. Also, you can't go wrong adding another M&M's car to your collection. You really can't. And I actually think this is the first Kyle Busch 124 diecast I have on my collection, which I'm shocked about, but there it is. Let's add one more diecast to my collection from 2019 with Spencer Boyd's first Truck Series win at Talladega. I actually covered the end of this race in one of my videos talking about the yellow line rule. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever done. A lot of research went into it, a lot of time went into it, so make sure to check that video out. This diecast is also signed, so I was very happy to add another truck to my collection. Spencer Boyd's also just a really cool guy. I've interviewed him quite a few times, so had to add this to my collection for sure. Let's jump to something a bit more recent from 2023, talking about Chris Buescher's Michigan win, and yes, this diecast is color chrome. The Castrol color chrome diecast just looks so good. Part of me almost wishes though I didn't go with the color chrome because I love the matte black on that scheme, and part of me was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do it, maybe I shouldn't, but hey, I'm happy to have this one in my collection. This is a race that I went to and I covered. Unfortunately though, I could not stay until Monday when the race was postponed due to rain. But when the race continued on Monday, it was so fun to watch and see that battle between Buescher and Truex coming to the end. It was just a phenomenal race, and of course I had to get this diecast. So that's another one I'm really glad to add to my collection. Speaking of diecast, I'm glad to add to my collection from 2023. Ryan Blaney's Coke 600 win. It is a signed diecast. I attended this race as a fan, so of course it was a big deal for me to witness this win after the weekend that we had with rain delays, etc. This was also the first race that my parents went to with me, like ever, so it was a really special weekend, and I wanted to get the diecast to really commemorate that. So not only does this signed race-winning diecast have a lot of meaning to me, the win itself sparked a championship season for Ryan Blaney. That's why it is in my collection, and I gotta put it in the championship display case that's somewhere behind me in this picture. I gotta put it somewhere. From this point on, we're gonna go back in time, starting with 2020, Kevin Harvick's throwback paint scheme. It is a Busch Beer throwback scheme from his Darlington win. This is probably one of my favorite Busch Beer schemes, to be quite honest with you, because of its simplicity. I also like the blue on it. I also really just wanted to have a diecast from 2020, and because of that battle between Harvick and Hamlin, just back and forth all season long, I felt like this was a really good one to have. The 2020 season was also just bizarre because of the pandemic and having races in the middle of the week and everything in between, so Having something as kind of a reminder of the weird season, I kind of wanted to have in my collection. I actually did really enjoy that season despite all of the just craziness that happened due to the pandemic, and even though the fans weren't able to attend the races at most points just due to restrictions, it was still a really fun battle to watch between Hamlin, Harvick, and of course seeing how the playoffs played out at the end of the day, but really do love this diecast and glad to have it in the collection. Speaking of cars with great schemes, great sponsorships, let's go to 2014 in the Nationwide Series, Kyle Larson's first series win in the Target Cartwheels car. The Target car holds special memories for, I'm sure, a lot of us. For me, it takes me back to 2017 when Kyle Larson was in the Cup Series and at Kentucky Speedway, went to my first race with my siblings. My brother was like, who's in the 42? Who's in the Target car? I'm like, that's Kyle Larson. He goes, okay, that's going to be my driver this weekend. For me, that car and just Target in general reminds me of that moment with my family being at the racetrack, etc. And now, of course, my brother doesn't watch NASCAR and my sister kind of keeps up with it because of my job and everything like that. But it takes me back to that really fun moment with my family. So though my memory isn't associated with Kyle Larson's first win in the Nationwide Series car, it at least reminds me of it a little bit. So to finally have a Target car in my collection is so special. I love it. The next car in my collection is from the Nationwide Series, and to be quite honest with you, I don't have a really deep meaning as to why I have this in my collection. It's just based off of, some work that I do behind the camera and the connections to that. But the Oreo Ritz car that Tony Stewart ran, had to have this. It's such a cool car. I love the scheme. I love the design of it. And who doesn't love Oreos or Ritz? In confession time here, I think Chips Ahoy are way better than Oreo. I'm sorry. I am sorry, but I'm also not. I think Oreos are really good. I just think that they're a lot. I like them better like when they're in ice cream and like in other desserts, but like on their own, I just don't like it. I'm sorry. But the car, though, is phenomenal. So, yeah, I had to have it. To be clear, I don't hate Oreos. It's just like, that's not the first thing I'll go to. And now this video is going to get so much hate because I just admitted that, but we're going to move on. Next up, we have a pair of Dale Jr. Budweiser cars, one from 2000 in his rookie season, and another from his Bristol win in 2004. If you all have viewed my collection videos before, you know I have a Dale Earnhardt Jr. shelf somewhere behind me, and so I definitely had to add to that, especially with these iconic cars. I'm baffled by the fact that I didn't have any Bud cars in my collection before this, so I'm glad to finally add to those numbers. Last but not least, we're going to take it back before the 2000s, and when I think of adding diecast to my collection, I really do look for cars that hold a significant meaning to me, whether it brings up a memory for me, whether it's a championship car or a race winner or a race that I attended. Those are the diecasts that I am typically drawn to and the ones that I'm going to buy. This one is a car from a championship winner for the Daytona 500. We're talking about Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s 1998 Daytona 500 winning car. Him winning the Daytona 500 was monumental for our sport. This was a win that eluded him for quite some time and finally was able to get it done in 1998. So had to add this one to my collection, a piece of history as well to pay tribute to Dale and also to the incredible moment this was for NASCAR. So that does it for this diecast show and tell. Obviously, as you all know, I'll be at the 600 weekend this year for Truck, Xfinity, and Cup, and you better believe we're going to be looking for diecast yet again while we're there in the tents and at the haulers and everything like that. So this stack right here, following the 600 weekend, might grow. So just be on the lookout for a show and tell that we do during our live stream following that race weekend. Again, our live streams are Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I really need to start watching my wallet, but at the same time, they're just so addicting to collect these. I mean, come on, they're so cool. Regardless, if you want more content from us at Above the Yellow Line, make sure to go to AboveTheYellowLine.com to keep up with us and get some merchandise. And if you want more NASCAR news content and everything in between, make sure to go to TobyChristie.com. Well, that's it for this video. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with your friends and family. Thank you all so much for supporting us here at TobyChristie.com and Above the Yellow Line. And until next time, I'll see ya. Bye.